Hello and welcome to Galactica. Today we're going to be talking about the supposed Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition that has been leaked online. It's been known about for how long now?
About a month or two, I want to say. It hasn't been that long.
Yeah, this leaked about, would you say mid March or like early March?
I think it was around like mid to early March. It leaked. I think it leaked on some South Korean like rating board. This isn't like the first time it's happened with Sonic either, or really any video game for that matter. I think the same thing happened with Sonic Origins, and around this time, I think we already known about Sonic Origins because of the same reason we know about Frontiers Definitive Edition again.
Yeah, so is it the Korean French retailer or French retailer? Is it the Korean retailer or the French retailer? Because I see here in the notes you have So Gamely listed. What's the what's the Korean? Was it a Korean rating board?
Yeah, it was. I forget the name of it, but obviously we can probably have like a visual cue on screen if we can't think of the name or search for it quick. But yeah, it was a South Korean rating board that like does like the ratings for video games in South Korea. Um, and now So Gamely is a French retailer. Um, and on their website, they have Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition for Switch 2 on there, releasing in June.
Yeah, I think it said June 30th of this year. And yes, I do also remember the South Korean rating board leaking Sonic Origins Plus, I believe. I'm not sure if it was just Origins as well. I can't remember. But I do significantly remember a lot of buzz around Plus before that even got announced. And I believe So Gamely has also leaked Sonic Colors Ultimate back in 2021.
Yeah, so yeah, so again, Song Gamely, they leaked Sonic Colors in 2021, and they also leaked Sonic Origins in 2022, but they didn't call it Sonic Origins. They called it like Sonic Collection or something, and that was like one of the first instances that we knew that there was a Sonic collection coming. Obviously there was like I think there was like leaks even beforehand, even for Colors maybe. Because wasn't Colors like a little bit of a open closed secret in the community? Like there were certain members that knew about it, but it wasn't exactly public.
Yes, yes, I do remember the information for Colors Ultimate, like going around at that time. Significantly remember a lot of people using the joke of tweeting out a crayon box.
I do not remember this.
I significantly remember scrolling through Twitter and seeing a few people in the Sonic community tweeting out a Crayola crayon box like super randomly, and I mean, yes, I also heard of the Ultimate leaks through the grapevine, so it was something that was talked about a bit as you know we were gearing up for it to come out. Um, but that could be a story for another day. We're talking about Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition and what exactly it is and what exactly it's leading into potentially being. Um, so I know when Definitive Edition first was leaked, a lot of people got the idea that it was potentially going to be like a upgraded version of the game that improves on the game a little bit in some areas, maybe fixes like the pop-in issues that everybody's had with the game, improves maybe some performance issues on the Switch, makes the Switch version look a little bit better now that we have the capability of putting on Switch 2. And then the possibility of them maybe adding in like a small amount of additional content for it to justify being bought again. Um, but now with So Gamely, you know, listing Sonic Colors, not Sonic Colors, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition for Switch 2, it's starting to line up with the rumors of what we heard from. I'm not even sure if those were actually rumors, if that was just a confirmed thing from Nintendo. But like, Nintendo is going in and for re release versions of Switch games, they're now labeling them as definitive editions.
But yeah, it was a rumor. Nintendo didn't confirm it because Nintendo is honestly not the greatest with communication. I'm gonna be honest, just like with any corporation. But um, yeah, it was a rumor that Nintendo was gonna go and change its direction with how they're doing Switch 2 editions of games. So instead of calling a game Switch 2 edition, they'll call it Definitive Edition. Now we don't know if this is gonna be in effect with uh, third party versions only or first party games because with Shadow Generations and Persona 3 Reload and other Sega games, they don't call it Definitive Edition or anything. They just call it either Switch 2 Edition or they just leave it as it is, as just the game's name. Because I don't think with Sonic X Shadow Generations they call it Sonic X Shadow Generations Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. They just call it as it is, just Sonic X Shadow Generations, but for Nintendo Switch 2.
Mhm. Yeah, no. I also believe that they didn't do like a specific or special name change for Shadow X Generations. They just were like, "Oh, it's out now on Switch 2." Same. Well, no. Did they call Sonic Racing Cross Worlds on Switch 2 the Switch 2 edition?
I think they did. I have the game on here actually. Hold up. Yeah, they call it Nintendo Switch 2 Edition.
That's so interesting. That is like so vaguely interesting to see
And
that.
then with Shadow Generations, they just call it Sonic X Shadow Generations. And I also have Persona 3 Reload as well, and it's just called Persona 3 Reload.
That is so interesting. I mean, like, obviously, that sounds like it's definitely a marketing standpoint to see if it'll gauge more interest if it's labeled as such. Um, but then again, I mean, like, I can't really blame them for trying to figure out how to title something for the Switch 2 when honestly, the box art for Switch 2 or just the box design for Switch 2 games in general are very hard to determine between like a Switch game and a Switch 2 game. Like I don't really think they do a good job at presenting that this is the Switch 2 version of the game. Like it just I don't know. But that might just be me.
Yeah, I mean, the Switch 2 box art, in general, for all Nintendo Switch 2 games is pretty ugly. And it can be hard to differentiate, okay, what is Switch 1 versus Switch 2? Um, I don't know what happened there because the Switch 1 box art in general, like the template for it is fine. Like it's not anything groundbreaking. I'm not gonna say, oh, it's a graphic design masterpiece, but I think it gets the job done. Um, with Switch 2 though, it another problem with the Switch 2 box art is that it has a lot of words on it. Like for Crossworlds, they just recently did like the Crossworlds physical edition for Switch 2. It will say like, oh, it comes with Crossworlds Nintendo Switch Edition, but has the Switch 2 upgrade pack and this and that and the third. It's just I feel like Nintendo Switch 2 games are more complicated than they seem or than they need to be.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. It's always been and I guess the mindset that they were in for these like the design of the cases is like it feels like they're trying their best to use the Switch 2 as a way to and now again probably not the way to think about it but like the way that it's set up makes me believe that the Switch 2 is like their way of slowly like trying to replace Switch entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's Nintendo's plan all along, of course, with as with any company. I think it's just going to be very hard for them to do that because I feel like they had a hard time with the DS with that as well. Because even well into the 3DS's life cycle, people were still playing the Nintendo DS. Like at least I was one of the people who got a 3DS pretty late into its life cycle. Like I got a 3DS in like 2015. That's when the new 3DS XL came out in America. That was my first 3DS. Before then, I was still playing my DSi and DS Lite and things like that. And I knew other people who were in similar situations. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Nintendo does want to phase out the Nintendo Switch, but they're gonna have a hard time doing that with how many copies or well units the Switch has. Especially with it being more affordable than the Nintendo Switch 2, and games are still releasing on the Nintendo Switch 1. Like with Crossroads Nintendo Switch 2 edition, you can still play that game on Switch 1. You're just not going to get the Crossroads Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade pack that comes with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, like, we've seen another company similar to Nintendo doing this, but not. I felt like they may have executed a little bit better just by the design of the box art. And the company that I'm talking about is PlayStation, because when they did PS5, which is essentially just their way of trying to phase out the PS4, they offered like PS4 versions of the games with the PS5 versions of the games that you bought, but the significant difference was that they completely went away from the blue at the top of the box to the white at the top of the box, and clearly states that it's PS5 versus PS4 on the box. Whereas Nintendo, again, it's the same color. It's a little bit more scrunched with the contents and whatnot. And yes, it does have an indicator that it's for Switch 2, but first glance that any parent that's going into a game store to pick up a game for the Switch off of a game shelf, they may accidentally pick up a Switch 2 version by accident because the Switch 2 indicator is just not there. Like it's not prominent enough to differentiate between them. So, um, that's why I find it interesting that it seems that they're now labeling it as definitive edition, and it supposedly is looking to be more of a Switch 2 exclusive.
Yeah, and I think what it comes down to is what is going to be different between that version versus the other versions of the game. Because with definitive edition, it implies that it is the best way to play the game. At least that's how a definitive edition is to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've seen games that sort of go that route of becoming definitive editions. I wouldn't even say that it's around. I mean, like it's similar, but it's not the same naming scheme. But Sega did do it as a launch title for Switch 2. They did Yakuza Zero Director's Cut, which added a little bit more extra content to the game, such as additional cutscenes, and that was exclusive to the Switch 2 for just a little bit. It was like a timed exclusive before they rolled it out to other platforms. And they did add additional content to the game, such as like an online multiplayer thing where you can play with friends and like brawl out against other like enemies and such. Um, and they did some small changes here and there, and just overall just provided a Yakuza Zero experience for the Switch 2. And again, that was just a timed exclusive thing, so we don't know per se if this is going to be a similar thing with Frontiers, where we're going to see the Switch 2 get a exclusive version of Frontiers for a timed, like like for a short amount of time before it crosses over to other platforms. Um, but yeah, no, let me know what potential upgrades you're thinking they're going to do for the game on Switch 2, because obviously it's going to be a graphical upgrade.
Yeah, so I think there's two main ways they can go about this for me. Uh, for for one, I think this is the most likely. They're just going to do a graphics update where they're just gonna uh, bump up the resolution, make the frame rate 60 FPS. The thing with the FPS is that I'm kind of scared that they'll make it 30, but that's only because like the PS4 version of Frontiers runs at 30, I know the Switch 2 is stronger than the PS4, but I don't think Sega is always the greatest with optimization. Um, Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. So I'm kind of scared to see if they're gonna do 60 FPS or 30, or they might just go like the route with the PS5 and Series X, where it's like there's gonna be a quality mode and a performance mode. They did that with Shadow Generations, where Shadow Generations had a quality mode and a performance mode. Which, by the way, quality mode was really buggy for me. There were moments where the game like was choppy in quality mode. So hopefully they fix that issue with Frontiers where it doesn't like drop in frame rate like crazy or whatever. So just a graphics update. I don't. Here's the thing with the graphics update. Do you think they would fix the pop-in? Because if they was to fix the pop-in, now would be their chance. But if they were to fix the pop-in and only the Switch 2, what about the other versions of the game?
Right. So, from my understanding with the pop in, at least from what I've seen a while back, there was like this there was this modder, can't remember the name of them. But they were playing around with the different values in the game on PC, and they did find a thing where they could adjust the pop in and just like keep like those platforms and whatnot that would usually pop in and whatnot. um like it would keep it drawn in the game, but also there supposedly was an experimental shader where the platforms and everything from a distance would like sort of fade in with a cybernetic like kind of phase. um but the reason why they decided not to go through with fully implementing it is because one, it seems they were running out of time, which they likely were, and two, they couldn't optimize it because it was causing extreme slowdown. It were causing areas to lag like crazy, and I don't know if this modder ever went in and like optimized it themselves. It would be cool to see if that is like an actual mod out there that I'm not aware of. But from my understanding, the pop in, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about because while pop in would be a fun thing to see go away completely with the definitive edition, I don't know how much time they would really realistically spend on fixing certain things like that. Um, it would be, again, it would be really awesome to see. But again, I don't know what the development cycle looks like for something like this because it has been 3 to 4 years almost. Yeah, yeah, it'll be 4 years in November this year. Um, so maybe. Um, I guess again we're just gonna have to wait and see. Another thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about optimization though is even though they haven't really been the best about it with certain games, and I mean even Yakuza Director's Edition or Director's Cut didn't have the proper optimization. I'm wondering again. This is just I don't know how this would work, but I'd imagine that it wouldn't be too difficult. Considering that Crossworlds has some stuff ported over from Unity. Um, I, who's to say that they aren't trying to port this game over to Unreal Engine?
If they ported this game to Unreal Engine or Unity, but only the Switch 2 edition, that would be really interesting. Because this would make it like I suppose in like actual gameplay, it might not be that much different aside from like graphics updates, but that would be really interesting. And I feel like there could be some issues with that just because I feel like if Frontiers is getting some kind of like huge support for the Switch 2, it should also receive it for the other versions of the game. Just because the other versions of the games suffer the same issues as the Switch 2, not the Switch 2, Switch 1. Like Yeah, there's a lot more pop-in and everything is a lot worse in Switch 2, but the pop-in is still present on things like the PS5. And that console is a beast. Even on PC, if you have the game on like max quality on PC, you're still gonna have issues.
No, no,
So,
no, definitely. I mean, again, there's some food for thought because I mean, like, again, I'm not too much of a develop. I know how development works in certain areas, but when it comes to talking about, taking something from Unity and putting it in Unreal Engine, that just like is really weird to me. But like, again, the Crossworlds supposedly has Hedgehog Engine in it.
mm, I don't know too much about Hedgehog Engine. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about Hedgehog Engine, so it makes
Yeah,
me
no, no, no.
unsure about what it is. Because
I
I
mean, I'm
remember
sure most
hearing
of it
that.
is probably just a graphical thing, but go on.
Yeah, I heard Hedgehog Engine 2 in particular was like a graphics engine. Um, and then there's people that say, "Oh no, it's not. It does this, this, and this." So I mean, they could probably just have Hedgehog Engine 2 for the graphics, and the game just runs majorly on what is it, Unreal Engine,
Yes, it's Unreal Engine 5
and that's Crossworlds, right?
Crossworlds, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think they would go that far. It would. I think they might have done it as a test for like the next Sonic game, but I don't think it would be something that they would actually release. But I do think it is possible to optimize the game even better in whatever engine and assets it has now. Um, just because if modders have been able to finish with the settings before, not to say oh modders save everything and modders make the game better, but a lot of modders they like to analyze how games are made, and if some of them are able to find out oh why does the game do this, and they're able to provide a solution. Who's to say that Sonic Team hasn't recorded that, and now they want to implement that for the Switch too?
But yeah, no, I mean, like, potential upgrades and additions to the Switch 2 game as a whole, graphical upgrades, you're going to be seeing a much better like resolution, hopefully some FPS improvements here and there. Um if possible. I don't know. It's iffy about the poppin. It could be iffy about poppin, because like again, that's what would make that even more weird for this to be like a Switch 2 exclusive, and then they just not update it for the other versions of the game whatsoever. Like that's what kind of throws it off from it being a Switch 2 exclusive. Um, but again, the listing states that it is coming to Switch 2 with no other console listed whatsoever. Um,
Yeah, if Soul Gamely uh, so in past years, so Soul Gamely leaked Sonic games. They had the other versions of the game available on their website. So this is definitely a Switch 2 only thing. But my other option for Frontiers Definitive Edition on Switch 2 was that whatever improvements and fixes they do on the Switch 2, just to make it on par with like the PS5 version and the Series X version, uh, they might just do like an update for the game, which would be interesting because the game hasn't been updated in like 3 years. Um, People are just assuming that they're just focusing work on the next Sonic game and that this game is never going to be touched again. Um, but a definitive edition is a chance for them to go back, fix whatever is up with the game, like the pop in for the Switch systems, at least for Switch 2, definitely fix like the resolution and the frame rate. But I do have one theory about definitive edition. Now, I don't think this is gonna happen, but it would be very cool if it did, just for some, synergy across the games. Um, so you know how Shadow is in Chaos Island in Sonic X Shadow Generations for some reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, they gave a reason, but
Oh, what was the reason?
well, the reason they gave was like, it's because white space shows all different forms of areas from times, even if it's not something that Sonic or anyone has relatively gone to specifically. It was just there because it was a point of interest that would have been shown sometime in the timeline. I don't really like that, like, explanation, because it's very convoluting. But I mean, like, I guess it's just also a way of getting around saying that, oh yeah, no, we were using it as a basis for like how we want to design levels in the next main line.
Yeah, I mean, the explanation kind of throws off my theory, but my theory was going to be that they could explain why Shadow was in Chaos Island, so maybe they would have like an episode Shadow type of deal with the game. But I mean, for one, I don't even without that explanation, I don't think they would ever do that because honestly, there this is probably just a quick like cash thing. Where it's like, oh well, the game could be played on Switch too, guys, to hold you over for the next mainline Sonic game. Because they already put Shadow Generations on Switch 2. They put Crossroads on Switch 2. They probably want to do a lot of support for Switch 2, especially for a game like Frontiers, where right now it's like their biggest Sonic game still, even after 4 years. In the game, people are still buying the game, I believe. Like Sonic is the type of series where it gets lifetime sales. Like people still bought like not Shadow, but Sonic Generations even a decade after it released. It's just that kind of series. So oh sorry. Um, I was gonna say that I think Sega doesn't want people to play the Switch version of Frontiers. They want people to play the Switch 2 version of Frontiers because they probably know that the Switch version of Frontiers is not up to par. It's not what it should be. It's not what it is. It should not be what it is what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
no, 100%. I definitely agree. I mean, I think, I don't know. It is. I think it would be better. Like again, I'm not saying that like it should happen or it shouldn't happen, but like when you're talking about a definitive edition for a game, you want a reason for people to go back and play it. And yes, one of the main reasons is better resolution and better like overall performance for the game on Switch. 100% is a selling point. But the thing about that is like, who, you, the fan base's perspective of Frontiers has gone back and forth a lot, like a lot. Um, and comparing it to something like Shadow Generations, obviously people will point to Shadow Generations over Frontiers just because it was more like in tuned, like it was more optimized for aside from the Switch 2 version. Um, and it had like more more things to offer for a Sonic fan as opposed to Sonic Frontiers, because Sonic Frontiers is like such a weird entry for the series.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I feel like the way they were writing Frontiers was that people who are not usually into Sonic will learn who Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are, and Amy, because in the game they like reiterate like who these characters are, basically.
I mean, like, you've already got, again, with Shadow Generations being an extension of what Frontiers is, relatively speaking, with how white space is pretty much just an open zone area, and Shadow, like, even though he doesn't have like different moves, you get different moves that you unlock as you progress through the game, but not like with Sonic and Frontiers where you can just have a skill tree and stuff like that. We have the basis for what Shadow would theoretically play like in an open zone area, and it's just like, why not? You know, why not do something extra with Shadow? And it doesn't even have to be anything big because again, the time frame for what this could have been potentially with development, you could have had at least 1 to 2 years ish. I don't think they started this development for, you know, as soon as the Switch 2 got launched or anything like that. But you have enough of the time to do like a small thing with Shadow in Frontiers if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, it really depends because they could just add Shadow as a character and like not add any story element to it. It could just be like, oh, comes with Shadow, play with Shadow, and he
Mhm.
just plays like Sonic. They could do that. It would be really boring, but they could end up doing that. But I would like to see them do like a episode Shadow thing for the game.
I think it would
That could
be
be like the very
really
last
interesting.
thing.
It would be
Yeah,
very interesting, and it could be something that maybe ties into the next main line.
yeah. I mean, we have no idea what the next mainline Sonic game is going to be. Um, but it seems like they're going to go forward with the multiple character route. So them adding Shadow, I guess would be like a proof of concept for, oh, how would Shadow play in a open world type game that plays like Frontiers, but it's more refined, like Shadow Generations.
Yeah, no, definitely. Um, and yeah, no, I mean, I don't. Again, I don't know what all this Frontiers Definitive Edition has in store. I know that the leaked listing on So Gamely states that it comes with an art book and all the digital content for the game, but all the digital content for the game was free for the most part. So I think it'd be cool, actually. I mean, I know it's such a small thing, but it would be really cool if we finally were able to get those like Japanese exclusive things that came to the Switch version, not the Switch version, but like the Japanese version of the game, like the VTuber collab and there was like a Coco like emote that Sonic would do or something.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they could definitely bring those over. I completely forgot those even existed.
Yeah, those were region locked for some reason. Um,
Yeah, so stupid.
but yeah, no, I mean, it's an exciting thing to think about, and I mean, we're already kind of pretty much gearing up for the promotion of it. Because just recently, yesterday, last night, relatively, um, Nabrak, was it Nabrak or was it the Speed Sim account posted a video of Kronos Island coming to Speed Sim.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on Tails channel. That's how I saw it. I didn't know where they even got the video from, but
I can't
it
remember if it
was
was Tails Channel who said it or if it was Sonic Stadium that said Nabrak specifically. I remember I saw the Tails Channel one because you sent it to me, but I do remember reading on one of the posts between Sonic Stadium and Tails Channel that it was Nabrak that posted it.
yeah. I mean, it could be Nabrak. Nabrak is pretty much. I mean, I don't know too much about Speed Sim right now, so this could be very much wrong. But it seems like Nabrak is carrying Speed Sim for the most part. But again, could be wrong.
No, I definitely think
Because
he has some input with certain
yeah,
things.
I mean, he seems more closely tied to Sega than everybody else at Game Fam. Because
Yeah.
Nabrak does work on other Sonic projects too. So
Yeah, and I mean, like he did again, just to give like an idea of how closely he works with the Speed Sim team and Sega. The recent one of the recent events that they did brought Infinite back, and when they were writing the stuff for that event, Sega was specifically telling them specific things about Infinite at that time. Like they were going in and giving him notes about different things that they were writing. And so that just goes to show how involved Nabrak is with Speed Sim as a whole. But yes, Kronos Island is coming to Speed Sim, and it looks like they just completely ripped it out of the game. I mean, like it just looks like they took everything from Frontiers and just plopped it right into a big open world.
Yeah, I when I looked at that, I was like, dude, that's straight up just the island. I thought it was gonna be like a mini version of the island. I mean, it probably still is, but I mean, compared to the original game, that looks pretty much identical. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, no,
I
there are
was
like
so
certain key
astonished.
locations that are just almost one to one, if not one to one.
Yeah, and I mean, like, obviously there are moments where you can tell it's like Roblox. Like, it doesn't have all the textures of like the grass and everything. Like, it looks pretty flat still, but it could also be because it's still a work in progress. But I mean, it looks pretty much identical, and it's like it works, I guess, in a way for Speed Sim. Like, I know Speed Sim has like more momentum and uh plays a little bit differently than other Sonic games, but my thing with Speed Sim is that sometimes it doesn't feel open enough. Um, or like I don't like the pathways, but I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see Kronos Island in Speed Sim. It might bring me back to play the game.
It's an interesting approach to take, but again, like, it's such a random thing to shoehorn into Speed Sim, like, so it definitely seems like this is gearing up for some kind of marketing potential of getting people interested in Frontiers if they haven't played it yet, or just getting people interested in Frontiers again if they want to play it again. And I do agree, Speed Sim, some of those worlds feel very limited. And just looking from the gameplay footage that was released, it is 100% the biggest world I think they've ever tackled. Um, there's just
Yeah, it's a
so
little bit of a
much.
cheat.
Yeah,
Which is not bad. Honestly, I'm even surprised that Sega let them do this because this is from like one of their latest Sonic games, and this is straight up either a one-to-one creation or a one-to-one port of the game, of like the island from the game. You know, so it's like I'm even surprised they let them do that. Maybe they might do it for White Space.
I mean that would be really interesting. We do see some. Also, we also saw some different things that were put into the video as just like obviously references to things that happen in Frontiers, or just references for Frontiers potentially. Like for example, we got to see Tangle gameplay, which is just a straight up reference to Sonic's line that he says in the game. Um, and we also got to see Shadow running around in Kronos Island, which I think could just be a reference to how Shadow was on Chaos Island in Shadow Gens. Um, so very little things that are very interesting to me to point out. Probably have no significant other than just being references, but it is just interesting that those two characters stand out the most, because I think the other characters that they showed off were Sonic and Knuckles, and I think they were, they're already in Frontiers.
Yeah. Um, like I remember I did a post for IDW Sonic News doing a reference to it. It's like the prophecy has been fulfilled, and it's the screenshot of what Sonic said. He's like she's doing the thing. She's
Yeah,
climbing around the ruins.
he's climbing the ruins. So like, I don't know. It's getting me a little excited to see what they might be cooking. Um, but I mean, I guess with that, it would be interesting to see if this potentially is going to be the first title on Switch 2 to move away from the supposed Switch 2 edition titling, if Nintendo is going through with the name change for some of these games being ported to Switch 2, and just labeling them as the definitive edition.
Yeah, and now it's just a matter of when they're going to announce it. And I know you said that there was rumors going around that there might be a Nintendo Direct next week. huge where they need to have like a whole marketing cycle for it. Because Shadow Generations, I remember it wasn't anything that crazy. I think it was like revealed like shortly after the Switch 2 was announced to be coming
Mhm.
to Switch 2, and that was like a 2 month wait.
Yeah. Nah, I mean they're gonna have to announce it soon if it's coming out in June, because we're almost done with April now, and that just leaves us with May.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're gonna do a partner showcase because obviously like the June, July season is when like a lot of video games start getting announced. Like summertime is generally when a lot of video games get announced. They're gonna probably gonna do like a general direct or something.
Yeah, nah, I can definitely see a general direct coming up in June. I think Nate has even said that he predicts a general direct for sometime in June as well. That is the time for video game announcements, because not only in that frame, that time frame, we also have like Summer Games Fest happening, and a lot of other events related to just announcing video games. So
Yeah. Uh, I mean, spring is like the best season for a lot of like marketing reasons and games and things like that. Um, but I mean, I think I want to play Sonic Frontiers on Switch too. As I sound like a huge Sonic show right now, but I replayed Frontiers like when I got my Switch 2 because I was like, oh, I wonder how it's gonna perform and things like that. Obviously, I knew it wasn't gonna be anything much different, but it did feel a lot better than playing on Switch 1, and it's probably because there isn't as many frame drops. And even now, like in handheld mode, they have a handheld boost. Um, like Frontiers on Switch 2 it wasn't a necessity, but I'm glad they're doing it. And I mean, depending on how things go, I'll get it. I mean, whether that's through requesting like a review code or getting it on sale. I hope to fucking God it's not a game key card, because if it's a game key card, then why even do a physical release at that point? You know what I mean? You could just do like an upgrade pack. And that's another thing. I really hope they do an upgrade pack for the game, because the fact that Shadow Generations didn't get an upgrade pack for the Switch 2 from Switch 1 to Switch 2 really sucks. So if you paid like $50 for the game on Switch 1, you have to pay another 50 for Switch 2. Like there's no
yeah,
like
yeah,
upgrade pack or
no,
anything like that.
I do remember that. That definitely sucked. And yeah, I do. I also do agree. Like again, I get it. You know, you're saving money with producing the game on a game key card, production wise, but who realistically, why? You know, like it feels like I don't know. I don't know. I can save that for that conversation for another day. Game key cards are not the way to go though. Like just don't do physical if you're wasting plastic, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's to get easier sales, but yeah, like you said, it could be a discussion for another day, because I can ramble on and on about how stupid game key cards are, how redundant they are, especially for a case like Sonic Frontiers on Switch 2.
Mhm.
If they do a game key card, that's just a waste.
Like again, I can see some of the benefits that it creates, but at the same time, the idea of buying a game physical and then putting into your Switch and then having to wait to play the game is just beyond my
It would just
comprehension.
it would just be really funny if like they did a game key card, and like let's say definitive edition is supposed to come with like, okay, it comes with all the DLC including like the updates like the Final Horizon and things like that. So that's what makes it definitive edition, because it's supposed to be like, oh, you buy it all in one.
Mhm.
If it's a game key card, that would just make it super redundant to buying it physically, because then it's like, okay, well, you made me up download the updates anyway, so why
Yeah, yeah.
even?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's a little sliver of hope that it might not be a game key card, considering that Sonic Racing Crossworlds did not, and thankfully did not, release on a game key card. So there's a slight bit of hope.
Yeah, I am so glad that game is not on a game key card. Would have been very, very annoyed if it was. I mean, like I talk shit about game key cards, but I own like two of them for Sonic Generations and Pac-Man World 2. But it's like it's nice for collection purposes, I guess, like the box, um but yeah, no. Before we start rambling on and on and on about game key cards.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts of Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition in the comments below. Would love to hear it. Um, Overall, I think it's an interesting thing, but I'm hoping that if there are certain improvements that they make to the game, that are exclusive to Switch 2 for a bit, that they'll eventually be put into other versions of the game as well, because I don't know, man. Spending $500 just to get an upgraded version of a game that came out almost 4 years ago is a bit much.
Well, when you say it like that, but I get what you're saying. I mean, there would just be no benefit to getting the Switch 2 edition if you have Switch 1.
Yeah,
If like the changes are minimal, you know what I mean?
yeah, and
Um,
if they allow an upgrade path through that,
yeah, they better. Oh my goodness, they better. I'm surprised people didn't raise enough of a stink about Shadow Generations, but that's a topic for another day again.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'm Dave,
And I'm Sin. I'm gonna be
and
the #1 hero.
we'll catch you guys later.
My hero, Academia.